I'll just make shit up. You make shit up. It's based on fact. We could be our own entertainment network in Canada.
Sweet. This podcast contains adult language. Welcome to the James Chambers Show. I'm your host for this podcast, James Chambers. And again, across from me in the co-pilot seat is Kate. So welcome, Kate.
At what point do I become an official co-host?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess now. I
was just wondering. It just occurred to me. I was like, I'm here every time you say that.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
well,
continuing on.
And I've
Hello,
been
fans.
To be fair, I have been saying it on Twitter and on Facebook.
You have.
So.
You have.
All right, we'll have to change
But like
that.
I said, I just now was like.
Well, it's going to be another
I'm
week because you just called me out on my own show. So.
Oh, well, all right, fine. Fair enough.
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, no, we love having you.
I pay the piper. When due. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. We love doing it. So today on the show, we're going to talk about the Blue Wave. Now that we're about a week out from the election results, we're going to talk about some of the good things and some of the questionable things about that election. And was it truly a blue wave, or is it sort of a mixed bag? I think we've got more information now, so it's time to talk about it. We're going to have a conversation that's going to get probably a little challenging about privilege and what privilege means.
Yeah.
Kate, I think, will probably take some of the lead on that because she's had an interesting conversation on, of course, social media.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the deep conversations happen.
It does. And you change no one's mind. No matter how brilliant you may be.
Right. Indeed. And then we're going to talk about Jamel Roberson. I believe it's Roberson, sorry, who is the black security guard in Illinois who was shot while doing his job and securing a suspect when the police arrived and shot him instead. So we're going to talk about the specifics on that as well. But first, blue wave, blue trickle, blue rivulet.
Well, I'm not really good at the title references for metaphors. But the further out we are from the actual elections and the more ballots that are actually being counted and certified, the better it is for us. I would say, and of course this is because everything I've read from all sources, it's very much your matter of perspective.
Yes. You can find something either beneficial or negative on both sides, and both sides are doing exactly that.
Right. Now, I mean, for the Republicans scoffing at us and our blue wave, now, was it a tsunami? No. But it was a lovely late cresting wave.
It was. Well,
and I mean, even today, another New Jersey seat, an East Coast seat, because this is interesting. I'm sorry, I'm kind of hijacking this here, but I was actually reading about this, I think, yesterday evening. But it was how the further out from elections we get, the better it is for Democrats, because the earlier polling places, the earlier closing polling places tend to break more for Republicans, and those are reported and all of that. And then the further out, right,
and early voting breaks Republican,
right,
like pretty consistently. So when you look at early voting polls,
by mail,
you have to
right. Now in person, it breaks Democrat,
right.
It's bizarre.
It is strange.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I understood how to make a study of that stuff, but I'd have to know more about statistics. But
yeah, we have 538 for that. That's okay.
Right? Yeah, and
even
Nate
real
Silver,
clear politics,
God bless him.
Right.
But no, I think that even today with taking a seat from a Republican House member, in New Jersey. Just today, they were able to call that.
Yeah.
And then the lady from, what was her?
Kristen
Sinema.
Yeah.
And
in Arizona.
Every time I think of it, I'm like, let's go to the movies. But,
I wish I had the Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie. There was their little intro. Let's all go to the lobby, like that. But they did it in death metal, and I really wish I had that to play it. Maybe I'll find it in post.
You maybe should.
Don't talk watch. Don't talk watch. Behavior wasn't. Don't let it work out. We still have a fucking money.
But no, it's turning into a bigger wave than they, it's still not going to be a tsunami, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
And actually, well, you might have to edit this out because we'll have to check on me. But I think one of them was a Senate seat that actually was flipped. It had been early called for the Republican, and then votes. Oh, look,
Right.
you didn't actually win.
There
And
were-
not that it helped us.
Well,
we didn't.
But
We still aren't at 50. So
no, but they were projected. We were projected to lose 3 to 4 seats in the Senate. Right now, it's only 1 to 2, which is huge considering that the Senate has been gerrymandered so badly. It is one of the most. It's one of the most undemocratic systems, but it's also fundamentally hostile to the Democrats at this point. In terms of voting, in terms of the electorate. So the chance that we were even going to retain all of the seats was really almost impossible. But to only lose 1 or 2 is pretty good. I mean, it's not great. Obviously, we want to regain control of the Senate too. But in this particular map, it just wasn't going to happen.
No.
But this is what did happen. We, as of right now, got 38 seats in the House, flipped. We retained all of our seats and flipped 38 seats in the House, possibly up to 40, depending on what happens over the next few days. That's huge. We needed 23 to win. We're almost at 40, and we got 38 for sure. So that's amazing. All right. So, and most of these people, or I should say a large portion of these people, are women, people of color, and people of non-Christian heritage,
people under 30.
And people under 30. We have a diversity of good, solid, progressive representation in the House. And a huge majority of those people are that voice. And so that is a huge, huge, huge benefit to us. And to the people of America in general. We need to have more people representing people that actually resemble the electorate.
Right.
That's extremely important. So we had huge voter turnout. This is the 3rd highest voter turnout for a midterm since 1974, which is just after Watergate. We blew the doors off places. It was amazing. And then, of course, the thing that I think is going to benefit us the most outside of the House was we flipped 7 governorships. And so now it's 23 to 25. And that's a big deal because that's where you can get some real boots on the ground benefit of stopping vote suppression and actually depoliticizing voting districts. And you can do a whole lot of good on that level. And that's something we desperately, desperately need. So, and of course, we've got Stacy Abrams, who's still in the fight.
Right.
And we have Andrew Gillum, who's still in the fight.
Right.
And that's Georgia and Florida. Now, Georgia is pretty questionable. She's still down by about 1.5%. It's not enough for a recount yet. Don't know if it's going to get there or not. It seems like the voting it's slowed down. The actual counting of ballots is slowed down enough that it's questionable whether or not that'll actually happen. But Gillum in Florida, they're in the midst of a recount right now. And who knows how that's going to swing. I mean, it's 0.4%
Right.
is the margin right now. I mean, that's and we're talking about Florida.
Right.
Florida, which says 13% African American, who is effectively neck and neck voting for a new governor who's a Democrat and black. That's pretty impressive, So even if he doesn't win, it's so goddamn close. And that's good because that builds the establishment of Democrats in Florida.
Well, and one remarkable thing about that race in particular, but I mean, really everywhere, is, there was a Twitter hashtag GOP voting blue. And the number of people that were just like, I have never in my life done this before, but today was the day.
Yeah. I feel so dirty.
Right. But you know what? They were like,
feel
can't do it. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And it really made me feel a whole lot better because I was really starting to think that there really aren't any middle ground people that I can see in my sphere left.
Right.
And oh my God, with our election results, I just don't understand.
You mean our state election results?
Our locals, there weren't any real choices. But yeah, the state local elections, Yeah, it makes no goddamn sense. None.
It really doesn't. And we are a product of gerrymandering and just as much as anything else.
Yes,
so.
we are. And I actually kind of was talking to one of my friends jokingly, and I was like, you know what? Maybe we should just run on the shit that we are talking about already and just put an R in front of our name.
Well,
and then it would probably work.
Yeah.
And then we can just go be Democrats as usual or progressives as usual. Like, they're voting for our initiatives. They just can't
wrap
get
their mind around the
over-
Democrat part.
They can't get over those goddamn liberal snowflakes.
Right? The demon rats.
They brought that Negro into office, and he was an embarrassment, mostly because he was black.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, and that's a very interesting point because across the country, you see that progressive and liberal ballot measures and propositions get voted up pretty consistently, especially now, because most of the electorate wants things like Medicare for all or health care for all, whatever form that takes, legalizing
campaign
marijuana,
reform.
campaign finance reform is a huge one. But the big one right now is health care.
Minimum wage.
Right. And minimum wage is going up across the nation. I mean, there are good things that are happening. So people want those liberal progressive ideas. They just don't want to disassociate with the air quotes conservative or Republican branding.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to disassociate from that because that means something core about them. Just like associated just like you would with a Christian or with any other religious sort of
It's hard
sect.
to break that.
Yeah, I mean you can have some serious deep doubts and questions and maybe even not really believe the dogma anymore, but to say you are not a fill in the blank, Christian, Muslim, Republican, liberal, whatever, that shakes you at the core.
Mm-hmm.
So people want these progressive ideas, but don't want to claim that they do.
Right.
And then they vote against, it's not really right, but they vote against their interest, kind of. They vote for the label.
No, they do. I mean, like in the, again, quote unquote, large local elections, your statewide elections, it's like I'm not sure if they're fornicating with the devil or what's happening there, but it's like, yeah, we want these things, but they're masochists. Oh, sadomasochists, because they vote for these things and then they vote for these people who they know will never, ever, in any time that they will ever draw a breath, do anything to enforce them.
Right. And that's exactly the dichotomy that I find so fascinating about being in such a red state that, and not only us, but states, across the Midwest have these really progressive concepts that do really well. Like we voted up the minimum wage increase by like 30-something%. Like all of the initiatives that were progressive won by like 30 and almost 40% in a lot of cases. And yet, clean sweep across the state for Republicans, except for a few in St. Louis and Kansas City. And that's
well, and what's her name? Galloway, Nicole.
Okay, yeah.
Our auditor.
Yeah.
Treasurer. What? Auditor.
I think it's auditor.
State. Whatever it is. Thank God.
Yeah.
She's the controller of the state purse. That's all I know.
And that works. I'll take it. Wherever we can get whenever we can get a foot in the door, I'll take it.
What I was really disappointed about was the lack of, and I'm not sure what ward or district or whatever you're in here. I vote at City Hall.
We're 10, I think. Yeah, I think we're 10.
I vote at City Hall, and everyone on my immediate local ballot, city or county, was Republican unopposed.
Yep. Except for like 3, I noticed.
I had for county commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I was really happy to vote for my dad's cousin for county commissioner.
Yeah. Well, there was one lady for the treasurer. I voted for her, even she was Republican unopposed, but I voted for her because I know her and she's a very good person. So I'm like, if I know you as a person, then you're not going to be making policy.
I don't know that.
Well,
See, I disagree because Jeannie Riddle was my 5th grade teacher.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. And I couldn't vote for her. I love her. She is a wonderful person, but her politics are repugnant and ugh.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Despicable.
But, if you're talking about the treasurer, she's not going to be able to make policy on stuff that's really going to be
No,
damaging.
but you have access to the funds, and look what happened with our collector.
Well, that's true. That was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. And I'm not saying that, she's
We should
crooked
probably
or anything
no,
like that,
and she's not. But we should probably clarify for people who don't live here what happened with our collector. She I can't remember her name. I just blanked.
A-Strike.
Yeah, there we go. She essentially scammed something.
She
couple
was
$100,000.
Yeah, taking money from the county general fund, putting it into her own personal bank account.
Mm-hmm. And she scammed.
Only part of the funds were paid back. I don't know where it is that she had a gambling problem. I don't know.
And because that's an excuse.
I've not met her. Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't matter what your reasoning is.
Right.
Whether you're taking the money to go to the boat or taking the money to pay off the knee breakers that you already owe money to, it's still not okay.
Yeah, well, especially when you're defrauding the people
taxpayer that are
who are
paying
paying
your
for it.
salary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just FYI for everybody who's not a local. That's our controller here in town fucking scammed us hard and finally got caught, which is good. Needed to be caught.
Yeah.
So going back to the blue wave, I think that we can say safely that not only was the win in the House a huge, big deal, because now we actually are in power in the House, like all of the committees.
There can finally be some accountability.
For the first time in 2 years, there can actually be oversight and accountability. And that's a big damn deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question I want to pose to you, because I haven't decided what I think on this one yet, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. What should the House Democrats do as their first major policy or action? What should it be? And I think this is a tricky question because we're looking
because there are so many things that need to be done,
right, but
in different areas.
And I think that the one thing they should not do is go after Trump. I think
I don't think immediately. I think that they should somehow, however they can, safeguard Mueller.
Yes, I fully agree with that.
I think that whatever evidence is produced to them and whatever investigations are appropriate from that, I think they should absolutely pursue.
Right.
I know that they have the subpoena power. There are a whole lot of people I'd want to talk to right now.
Right.
But no, I think I would wait until I had far more information, and I'm sure they already have more than we do. I mean, obviously. I think I would need to be debriefed before I would be like, okay, this is the absolute first step. Because, it doesn't really matter what the House does policy-wise. We're never going to win the Senate.
Well, but
I mean, they can make the initiatives, they can try and do that. And that's a good show of, good faith effort. And I get that. But it's also the Senate Republicans trying to repeal Obamacare, what was it, 72 times in the end, costing taxpayers $1 million per at the low estimate.
Right.
I don't want us to be that. I want us to have the information that we need
to move forward.
And if which I find hard to believe, but if by some chance he is not in fact, guilty as the day is long, then let's move on with our lives. Release the report and let's move on.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be that simple or clean, but.
No, I don't think it will be. But I think that there's probably a path. I think that if the Democrats step forward with an actual legitimate plan for infrastructure renovation, for a New Deal, for a real Medicare for all, an actual structured plan for Medicare for all, things that the president has said vocally that they can point to over and over and over again that said, you are for this, here is a bill, and we're ready to do it now. That puts him in a corner, and it puts the Senate Republicans in a corner because they have been voting 99% of the time with him. So if we can do something that's bold and progressive and right up front and say, we're going to keep investigating. We're going to safeguard the Mueller investigation.
By the time it got to him.
Oh no, I mean, things would change for sure, but it would demonstrate to the base and to the people who voted for them and actually voted for them as opposed to just against Trump and whoever. They would prove that they are there for a reason. And that's what we need to do before 2020 is to prove that we're there for a reason and can effectively govern, because the Republicans have been shit for governing. They're the obstructionist party.
I don't disagree with you, but there are so many things that urgently need to be addressed that I don't know how you could choose which one in specific is.
Now, that's the problem is we got to pick one. We got to pick one or two.
Right. And I mean, we're going to come up on the budgeting and shit again, and the omnibus bill and all of that stuff. And this is really where a lot of that stuff needs to be addressed.
That's very true. Now, I think that based on the polling, the most recent polling, people were voting for progressives and just for Democrats in general. Their biggest concern is health care. So on the national level, we know that health care is the biggest concern for voters pretty much across the board. You can roll downhill from there. There's several other issues, but that's the big one. So if they came up with a real I'm sure Sanders and Warren and a couple of others already have this plan in place that they can just hand over to whoever the speaker is. And I know that Pelosi's going for it, and I know she'll probably take that seat. I really wish that they would find somebody else. I know she's a good moneymaker.
I actually read a very interesting article. It was either the Atlantic or the Washington Post, but I think it was the Washington Post. But they were making an argument for how Stacy Abrams should be the Speaker of the House, because did you know that it does not have to be a sitting congressman?
I did not know that.
I didn't either until I read this article, and I was like, you know what? If you were pretty much any other rag, I would have been like, you're so full of shit. But no, real deal.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. I had no idea. That's something I want to research because nobody's ever said that to me.
Right. I don't
remember that from civics. I don't remember that from...
I really did click on it because I thought it was kind of a joke.
Right. Or
like
clickbait.
a parody or fake news or whatever. But no, this was like, it was either the Washington Post or the Atlantic. I'm pretty sure it was the Washington Post. But either way, it's still a credible source.
Yeah, it's not a fluff piece for sure. I mean, in terms of its credibility.
Right.
So that's interesting. And I mean, she would be, if you want to talk about energizing the base.
Right.
Brilliant,
qualified.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah. And I think that encapsulates it. She's very, very smart. And she's very well versed, especially in state policies and politics. She could translate that very well to Congress. That would be really interesting. And if Pelosi could get on board with it or something similar, that would keep her credibility, which she needs right now, because most younger people look at her and middle-aged people like myself look at her and go, yeah, time for you to go. You need to go. Not unlike the Clintons need to go and the Bushes need to go. It's time.
Oh my God! And
don't even do it.
This shit about Hillary maybe
don't even
running
do it.
for. I'm like, you know what? God. Take your political career off and let it die in the woods. Beat it to death if you have to. I'll help.
Right?
I'll help.
So disappointed to see that. I was like, I don't even want.
Former campaign manager says that she will run. You know what? If that bitch runs, I'm going to set her house on fire. I will find it. I don't know where it's at. Whichever one that she likes the most. No, go away, Hillary. You are not a progressive firebrand. You are Hillary fucking Clinton.
Yeah. It's bad enough that
your baggage didn't get any lighter, honey.
Yeah, it really didn't. And it's bad enough that we're fighting for just the houses in the Congress, but now there's going to be this floating concept of, oh, Hillary's going to run again. What's that going to mean? And, whoa, we got the Biden-Clinton showdown, and then we're going to have the Sanders-Clinton showdown redux. It's like, fuck all that. What they need to come out with is Hillary is not running, has no interest in running. She wants to live in her private life. She has
bone spurs, and she's not up to it, okay?
She's not. She's tired. She's just tired. And
she's not up for that war.
And ill. Yeah, and I'm like, no disrespect. Well, yeah, some disrespect to Clinton, but no real disrespect to Hillary in the sense that, look, you had your time.
And it's over.
And it's over. And it
was
should be over
before you ran last time, but you forced us to go along with you.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think none of us like to be led by the hand by the Democratic Party. And
no, I'll tell you, it's the very first goddamn thing that makes me want to beat them with the biggest stick I can find.
Yeah. This is when the Democratic Party really showed that it's a corporatist party at this point. And there are enough liberal Democrats on the fringe who are saying that's not acceptable anymore and we will change it. Thus, we have 38 new faces in the House. Thus we have the youngest sitting member of the House of Representatives. This is why we're there now.
Mm-hmm.
And the Clinton campaign, for all its faults, the fact that she lost really galvanized, I think, the people who we are seeing now who are winning, because they are to the left. They are more progressive and idealistic, and that's what the party needs. It has to have that.
Well, right. They've been so busy beating the fucking worn out, tired idea that we have to be moderate, we have to be centrist, we have to appeal to these people. Well, you know what? Read your demographics.
Yeah.
Those are not the demographics anymore. They don't want, the center is not the center anymore. The center is now right.
Oh, the center has been right since the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Bill Clinton.
Yeah,
would
he
have
pushed
been
it a notch or two to the left.
And
not himself, but reaction.
Yeah, but he was still center right. He would have been a Republican light.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the Democrats are still running with this concept, that the large big D Democrats are running with this concept that you have to be Republican light to get elected, and then maybe you can be progressive, is bullshit. It's a bullshit lie. And you see that because we just won a huge chunk of elections.
Yep.
And that's where the party needs to go. And I think that the blue wave, for what wave metaphor you want to use.
We're not measuring it in feet, okay?
We're gonna ride the curl. We're
and that stuff.
Yeah, fucking surfing shit, which I love.
White caps and things.
Yeah, and foam, and that's the blue foam to the water.
And
we won.
Out, man.
We won. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. And go away, Hillary.
Yeah, and go away,
because
Hillary.
if you come back, we're not going to do that anymore. Go away.
We'll come back to the James Chambers Show in just a minute.